Hello and welcome to a flip lesson on equivalent fractions. Your I can statement today is I can identify equivalent fractions. What does the word equivalent mean? Equal. We talked about this today in class. It means equal or the same as. So when we're talking about equivalent fractions, we mean that they are fractions that are equal to other fractions. Go ahead and write that down in your math notebook, please. Pause the video while you do that. I have two squares, and I know that they are the same because I copied and pasted them, so they are identical. And then I added in some extra lines here to separate it into more pieces. So in this example, I have half of it shaded in. I have two parts total, and one of the two parts is shaded in. And in this square, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 parts with 2 of the 4 shaded in. So my fractions for the first square would be 1 out of 2, 1/2. And for this one would be 2 out of 4. So these fractions are equivalent because they are equal. I didn't shade it any more or any less. All I'm doing is splitting the pieces a little bit smaller. So if I split the pieces even a little bit smaller, with this fraction, now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. My fraction becomes 4 out of 8 pieces shaded in. Okay, how do I find equivalent fractions? This is an important part. We can use multiplication. It makes it really easy. So let's start with a sample fraction, 4/5. 4/5 is our base one we're going to start with. We just need to multiply the numerator and the denominator by the same number, and it can be any number, and we'll get a fraction that's equivalent to what we started with. Let me show you what I mean. So if we do 4/5 times 2 at the numerator and the denominator, then we'll get a new fraction. 4 times 2 equals 8, 5 times 2 equals 10, so I have 8/10 as an equivalent fraction for 4/5. This works if I do it times 3. 4 times 3 equals 12, and 5 times 3 equals 15. So 12/15 is an equivalent fraction to 4/5. And we can try it with 4. 4 times 4 equals 16, and 5 times 4 equals 20, so 16/20 would be an equivalent fraction to 4/5. Any of those choices would be fine, and as long as I'm multiplying the same number on the numerator and the denominator, I can find an equivalent fraction. We could try it with 6/11. I just picked 3. We can do times 3, so 6 times 3 equals 18, and 11 times 3 equals 33. So I know that this fraction and this fraction are equal. They're equivalent, the same. Okay, and we'll try it one more time with 1/4. I picked times 2 this time, but you could do times 3, times 4, times 5, as long as the numerator and the denominator are the same. If you're multiplying them by the same number, it works. 1 times 2 equals 2, and 4 times 2 equals 8. So 2/8 is the same as 1/4. So here's our first practice check. I want you to find one equivalent fraction for 1/8. Use the strategy of multiplication, multiply it times anything. As long as it's the same on the top and the bottom, you will find an equivalent fraction. Pause the video while you work it out because I'm going to give away answers. Alright, here are the answers. I came up with 3, but there could be more. I have 2/16 as an equivalent fraction, 3/24 as an equivalent fraction, 4/32 as an equivalent fraction. So you could keep going and going and going and going. As long as the multiplication matches up. You could have 5/40. Alright, so for your practice check number 2, I want you to work on the assignment that I sent home with you tonight. It's on the back of your comparing fractions with the circles that you colored in. It is, I want you to complete numbers 1 through 10. It's called practice 10. No, complete numbers 1 through 3. Remember that there may be more than one correct answer, so work through those find just the equivalent fractions for numbers 1, 2, and 3. There are a few, and I'm going to give the answers away, so pause the video while you work that out. Okay, here are your answers. Number 1, you should have also circled 2/8. For number 2, you should have found 3 24ths and 2 16ths. And for number 3, 25 30ths and 10 12ths were the correct answers. So bring any questions that you have to school tomorrow, and I will see you then. Have a good night.